I do all well. I encourage you at the key that is on Blackboard. Exam on Chapter 5. If there is anything that you got wrong, because you have your answers and you can compare them to the answer key. If there's anything you got wrong, then send me a message and we'll Zoom, okay? It's really important that we go over any mistakes that you might have made, so then you don't make them on the final. All right, so we are really coming down the home stretch. We only have one more exam and then the final. There's just a few sections in Chapter 6 and a few sections in Chapter 7 that we have remaining, so it's really not a lot of material. I'm really proud of everyone for sticking with this unusual circumstance. So Section 6.1 is in your note packets in Blackboard. So again, you can print this off or just pull out a notebook sheet of paper and just take some notes and some highlights of things that you feel like that you should make a note of. All right, so this section is on ratio and rates, and there's a pretty big chance that you've noticed or used ratios and rates in your daily life, especially your daily shopping life. So a ratio is just simply a comparison of two quantities. And you know, right, that this is going to be something that is on the final. You have a very extensive vocab list that's on the final. And it says a ratio is no different from a fraction, right? Except there's other notation that we'll use besides fractional notation. So if we say something is in a ratio of 1 to 2, it can be written like this, 1 to 2. It can be written as a fraction, 1 over 2, or oftentimes I see the semicolon 1 to 2. Oh, and you know what? Let me show you. I was two things actually. Oh, a student sent me last year. Let me see if I can find it in my photos. A nice ratio that he actually worked in a daycare center, and he said when you walk in the front door, there is this sign, and I don't know if I can get you guys to see it, but it has the ratios. Can you see that? That says 1 to 15, 1 to 12, 1 to 10, 1 to 4. This is a sign that's mandatory by New York State for child care. Like daycare centers. And so it says if you have an infant from 0 to 13 months, it says a ratio, you must have 1 adult for every 4 infants. Okay? If you are running a facility with 4th grade to 13-year-olds, you must have 1 adult for every 15 kids. So do you see this cool ratio? These ratios are cool. Another one that someone sent, their dog got skunked. 'Tis the season. I've been smelling some skunk spray or skunk smell around our house. And so this could have easily been written as a ratio. It says 2 parts of water with 1 part apple cider vinegar. So that is a nice ratio. You could have written this like that, 2 to 1. So this is 2 parts water to 1 part vinegar. Right? So you actually might have seen ratios, you just never didn't think about it. I know I had someone in a class last semester that was a hairdresser, and they said when they mix their hair dye, it's always with this very specific ratio with the volumizer that she talked about some volumizer. So that's always in a ratio. So if you guys dye your hair, you might know what I'm talking about. All right, but anyway, we'll get into some more examples in a little bit. This says write each ratio as a ratio of whole numbers using fractional notation. So the first number in the ratio goes on the top. The second number goes in the denominator. And remember, on your calculator, if you put in a fraction and hit enter, it's going to write it in simplest form for you. All right? So it takes out a lot of the work for us if we use our calculator on these. Now this one's an interesting one. This one I pulled off of my math lab. So when you put that in your calculator, you get a decimal. It doesn't give you a fraction. So do you remember the change key? So when I hit that, it will give me a different form of that fraction. So 81 over 100 is the fraction in simplest form. It is not convention to have a decimal in a fraction. Oop, I don't need that, it shouldn't be over 100, over 10. It's not conventional to keep a decimal inside a fraction, so the calculator knows this, and so it converted it to a fraction without a decimal in it in simplest form. All right, and let's try 35 meters over 100 meters. Now look, just like before, if you have the same units in the top as you do in the bottom, we can cancel these. Our rules apply, right? So now let's do the 35 over 100. And so without the meters, this ratio written in fractional notation in simplest form is just 7 over 20. And you don't need the meters. You can cancel those out. So why don't you just pause the video for a quick minute and go ahead and do question 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll come back and we'll see how you did. So give it a pause and give it a try. All right, so I'm going to do 16 over 24. I'm going to put that fraction in my calculator and get 2/3. Okay, now look, the ounces are going to cancel in this next one. So when you did it, did you remember to get rid of the ounces? So we'll have 6 over 16. That's going to give us 3/8. And then we'll have $32 over $100. So the dollars are going to cancel. And if you pop that into your calculator, you'll get 8 over 25. So that's not too terrible, right? That should be a pretty decent section, or part of that beginning on my math lab. So this says use the given rectangle to find the following. So they say find the ratio of its width, which they say is the shorter side, to its length, the longer side. Okay, so if they don't specify, you could write it any way you want. I'll write it in fractional form. So this is good. If they say to simplify it, we don't need the feet. It would just be 5 to 7. Now they say find the ratio of its length to its perimeter. So let's fill in these missing pieces. So its length is 7 feet and its perimeter is 24 feet. If they ask you to simplify it, that would just be 7 over 24. All right, so this next one, I'm trying to give you some time to pause and try it on your own. So you can try the next one, give it a pause, and then come back and we'll see how you did. So find the ratio of its width, the shorter side, to its length, the longer side. So that'd be 3 feet over 11 feet, or 3 over 11. And then the ratio of its length, which is the longer side, to its perimeter. So I'm hoping that makes sense, that it's 11 feet, all over 28 feet it looks like. And then we don't need those units in there if they ask us to simplify it. Okay. I specifically picked this next one because I wanted to show you how to do it on your calculator. It says when a person flies a kite, and think about, so you're flying here. Do not make fun of my lack of artistic ability. Right, this will be me flying the kite. Okay, you ready? So here's my kite. I'm armless. Here's my kite. Okay. Okay, you ready? So the kite string is 8 1/2 feet. And right now it is 6 4/5, not feel, but feet, close to the ground. So doesn't it make sense that as you reel the kite in, it's going to get closer to the ground, right? As you reel the kite towards you, it gets closer to the ground. Okay, does that make sense? So it says write the ratio of the amount of string reeled in to the decrease in the kite's height from the ground as a fraction in simplest form. So this was off my math lab, and I thought, oh, it's going to look weird. But look, it's the ratio of the amount of string reeled in, so 8 1/2 goes in the numerator, to the kite's height. All right. Now these are both feet, but now they want it as a fraction in simplest form. We can put that in our calculator. So that's kind of why I wanted you to look at this one, or look at it together. So look, we're going to put a fraction in. So I just hit my fraction key. Everyone should be good with that. In the numerator, we're going to put an improper or a mixed number. So do you see in green? So I'm going to hit my second and then my green key. So we'll have 8 1/2 on the top of my fraction. And then I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to put a mixed number in the bottom of that fraction. So 6 4/5. And then I'm going to hit enter, and there's my fraction in simplest form. You see it? So it's a fraction. This is what's called a complex number. It's a fraction with a fraction in the fraction part. It's weird, right? It's weird looking, but that was a problem off my math lab. It's not hard. I just wanted to show you how to do it on your calculator. And then I canceled the feet, because if you have the same thing on the top as you do on the bottom, we know that we can cancel it. All right, here we go. So a rate is definitely something that you've seen in your lifetime, and maybe even every day. So a rate is a comparison of quantities with different units. So it's a real specific type of ratio. So it's a ratio, but the numerator and the denominator are going to have different units, so we can't cancel them. Like here, this is what we were just doing with ratios, but now we're going to be looking at a ratio where the units are different. So that's called a rate, and you can't cancel the units. So it says write each rate as a fraction in simplest form. Okay, so we're going to make $2,160 for 12 weeks. So as a fraction in simplest form, we're going to pop that into our calculator, and then we need to keep the units. So I know my calculator says 180. So 180 goes on the top, and then 1 week's going to go on the bottom. You still need a fraction, right? Or oftentimes it's kind of conventional to write it like this. So it's $180 per 1 week. All right, let's try this one. If any of you, my dad used to do this. He would track how many miles he could travel on a full tank of gas. And so we had a notebook in our glove box. And it was routine. While he was putting gas in the car, one of the kids, we would have to pull the notebook out, and he would tell us what to write, because he would track it on the mileometer thingamabobby in your car, and you would track how many miles he went, and then you'd fill the car up full, so he would know how many miles he was getting per gallon. So let's just pretend my dad went 360 miles. On 16 gallons of gas. All right, this is not really the number he was interested in. He was interested in this number. Okay, so let's see, we can do it one of two ways. We could say 45 miles for every 2 gallons, or if I hit my change key, 22.5 miles per 1 gallon. Right? That's kind of conventional how to write it. They want each rate as a fraction, so my math lab will want this. But my dad wanted that. And so why did he do that, you ask? Of course I asked. And he would do it so that so let's just say he was routinely getting 22.5 or 22 miles per gallon, and then all of a sudden he got 14 miles per gallon. He knew that something was wrong with the car, and then he would take it to get a tune-up. I don't do this with my car. Maybe I should, but here we go. Okay, so try 6 and 7. You guys try them, and they want it as a fraction. Okay, so leave your answer as a fraction in simplest form. And make sure you include your units, okay, because you do have something like this on the final. All right, you ready? Let's try it. So this will be 4 inches of rain in 18 hours. So we got to keep the inches and the hour in there. So my math lab will want 2 inches then for every 9 hours. They're not going to want it as a decimal if they ask you for a fraction, okay? So this is 18 gallons for every 4 acres of crops. So if you pop that into your calculator, I'm just using my fraction key, it gives you 9/2. And it's gallons of pesticide for every 2 acres of crops. All right, so now we need to look at a unit rate, and that's what my dad was interested in. So a unit rate is a rate whose denominator is 1. So our calculator is really going to come in handy with this. So for example, if I say, hey, how fast are you driving? You would say 55 miles per 1 hour, per hour, right? Now, this was a question on your last test because we have talked about it, and I'm going to write it again because a lot of you missed it. Okay? Of means to multiply. The word per triggers division. Okay, so when we say 55 miles per hour, that means that hour is on the bottom of a fraction. So if I said heart rate, what would you guys say? What are the units for heart rate? They're beats per minute. Some people like BPM, beats per minute. 1 minute. 1 minute goes on the bottom. If I said, hey, I actually asked my son this the other day. So he's home from college, but he has a job at college out in Indiana. And I said, hey, what do you get paid? So if he said, I can't really remember, but I think it was like $9. So if he said, I make $9.20, what do you think? Do you think that's a day? What did he really mean? It's $9.20 per hour, right? Or $9.20 per hour. There's a 1 there, right? There's a 1 understood to be there. That's what a unit rate means. There's a 1 there. Mileage, right? So like my dad on the one we just did, I would say, hey, you got 22 miles per gallon, per 1 gallon, right? Oh, and this happened at Wegmans. So maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. So not long ago, there were these signs hanging off the screen that shows you how much you owe, and it said think 14.5. And I finally asked, I said, what does that mean? And she said, oh, that's our IPM. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, oh, it's your, right there it is. It's on her screen. I did ask her permission if I could take her screen. She's not doing so well, but maybe because she was talking to me. Her IPM is her items per minute. So Wegmans wants everyone to be scanning 14.5 items per minute. That's a unit rate per 1 minute. There's a 1 there that's understood. IPM. So Catherine, I think it's because I was talking so much to her. She was only doing 10.8. So that's probably my bad. But so Wegmans is concerned about how fast people are scanning, because usually the faster you scan, right, the happier the customers are because they're not waiting in line. All right, so you really need your calculator on this, right? So it says write the following as a unit rate. Oh, this is going to be a big chunk on the final, right? It's definitely on the final. So when you see unit rate, you're just going to set up a fraction. All right. And then you might need your change key if it's not over 1 right away. So 31,500 divided by 7. That's fine. So that's going to be $4,500 in 1 month. You got to have a 1 on the bottom. So this is a very popular one, and this is what we're going to look at. This is what's called a unit rate, or unit price right here. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with shopping and how to be smart shoppers, but there's a price that you're going to pay, and then there's a unit price that legally stores have to also have with the price you're going to pay. And so to find the unit price, you take the amount of money that you're going to pay, and you're going to divide it by the total number of ounces or pounds or total number of products you're purchasing. So let's look at this. So we're paying $2.40 for 12 ounces of cereal. I'm just going to hit divide. I mean, you can do a fraction if you want. I'm just going to hit divide. So 0.2. Now keep the units. $0.20 per ounce. And do you see that's what this says here? It's what's called the unit price. And that is what you really should be looking at to see if you're saving some money. So when I was at Wegmans, I took some unit price pictures. All right. So I was shopping for my mom, and she needed me to buy her some grape nuts. Now look. So this is, I was going to pay $3.49 for like a little over a pound of grape nuts. So I'm going to be paying $2.72 per pound. Now look, same grape nuts, like grape nut cereal, Post Grape Nuts. So this is called Post Grape Nuts, and it was like the family box. It was really big. So 64 ounces, that's a lot. How many pounds is that? 64 divided by 4. That's, hold on. I think that's going to be like 4 pounds. Yeah, that's going to be a 4 pound box, okay? That's a 4 pound box, but look at what so I'm paying $6.99. And they have it per pound. So $6.99 divided by 4 is $1.75 per pound. So it's $6.99 for 4 pounds is $1.75 per pound. Now look, Do you see? You're paying $2. You're paying about $1 more for the exact same product as if you bought the bigger box. Now listen, a lot of grape nuts, you don't want to buy one small box every week. If you buy one small box every week, and instead of like a big box every 2 weeks, you're losing out on $1. It's the exact same product. $2.72 you're paying per pound versus $1.75 you're paying per pound. Now, if you're going to eat it, then you should absolutely buy the bigger box. You have to pay more money up front, but then the next couple weeks you don't have to buy any cereal, and you saved yourself at least $1. If it takes you, so this was for a little over 4 pounds, so if you eat one of these every week, and you can buy one of these and you don't have to buy it for 4 weeks, you just saved yourself $4. Now you might say, well, yeah, that's only $4, but then multiply that by every product that you're purchasing, because this can be very smart. This is a way to be smart shoppers, and it's with unit price. It even says it on there. This is a Wegmans tag, unit price. And it's for everything. It doesn't matter what the product. I think, I gotta go back. It was for Cheez-Its. Yep, you can see this was I think this was at Target. I just wanted to show you. Same thing, unit price. The tags look a little different, but it's got to be on there by law. It has to be on there. It has to be on the item that you're purchasing, the unit price for major grocery stores. Okay? All right. So, interesting fact though. You ready? So I was at Wegmans. This wasn't yesterday. This was a couple of days ago now. But there was an 11-ounce bag. That's like the normal bag of Doritos. And then there was one that was called the party size bag. So it was definitely bigger, almost 1.5 times the size, for $4.19. And it was interesting because if you looked at the unit price, it shouldn't have been a shocker. But I want you to go ahead and I want you to find the unit price for both of these bags of Doritos. So here's the formula. You've got to put the price on the top. That's what you got to remember. Price comes first. This is definitely on the test and on the final. And the amount you're going to purchase on the bottom. You can use the fraction key if you want. On the final, they're going to ask you to round it to 3 decimals. I'm giving you a warning. So I'll ask you to do that on the test as well. But I'll bold it and underline it. So, did you guys get 0.227? And it would be dollars per ounce. And then for the big bag of Doritos, it was $4.19 for 16 ounces. So $4.19 divided by 16 is 0.262. $0.262 per ounce. Now look! Stores know. The consumers think buying in bulk is cheaper. But for Doritos, it was more expensive per ounce to buy the big bag of Doritos than it was to buy the smaller bag. So it would have been smarter to buy 2 of these rather than 1 of those. You would have been paying less per Dorito for the smaller bag. But as long as you check the unit price, you should be able to figure this out and be a very smart, savvy shopper. Okay, it's called unit price. So it says, do you notice that it's cheaper per ounce for the 11-ounce bag than the 16-ounce bag? All right, let's look at this one. This is right off of my math lab. You just have to remember the price goes on the top. The amount goes on the bottom. And then round it to 3 decimals if you need to round, okay? Did you guys get, I'm going to wait for you to put it in your calculator, $0.059 per ounce. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try the Cheerio one, see how you do. All right. So $3.99 for an 18-ounce box of Cheerios. You guys get 0.222. Okay. Then the Toasted O's is $1.99 for a 14-ounce box. It's a little bit smaller. 0.142 dollars per ounce. So here, let's just talk about what this means. This means that you're paying a little over 22 cents for every ounce of Cheerios. And this means you're paying a little over 14 cents for every ounce of the Wegmans Toasted O's. So it's definitely cheaper to buy the Wegmans brand for this. But I've never had the Toasted O's. I don't know if they taste like Cheerios. If you really want Cheerios, then obviously you should buy the Cheerios. But if there's no difference in the taste, why not buy the Wegmans? Okay, it's cheaper. It's like, well, let's see. Let's figure out how much cheaper. It is 8 cents per ounce cheaper, which adds up, right? It's going to add up. 8 cents is 8 cents. You eat 10 ounces, you saved 80 cents. All right, so this is going to give you an example. So why don't you stop the video and work through this page, right? These are very typical problems that are on the final, on the test. Work through this page and then turn back on the video and check your answers, right? And then we'll look at the rest of these pages that I put on here, okay? All right, so go ahead and pause and then come back and join me. All right, let's see how you did. So a rate with a denominator of 1 is called a unit rate. When a rate is written as money on the top per item, like how much you're purchasing, a unit rate is called a unit price. And you have to know that. They don't give you the formula on the final. The word per translates to division, not multiplication. Of translates to multiplication. Rates are used to compare different types of quantities. To write a rate as a unit rate, divide the numerator by the denominator. The quotient of two quantities is called a ratio. And if the quantities are different, we called it a rate. And true or false? 7 over 5 means the same as 5 over 7. I'm hoping you all see that that's false. Those two fractions aren't the same. They're very different. All right. So let's see how you did this. So we'd have 46 over 102. The dollars cancel. So 23 over 51. They wanted a fraction in simplest form. Do you see that? So 23 over 51. The dollars cancel. I would like to say that this is the answer, but it's not. Because when you put it in your calculator, we're not allowed to have a decimal in a fraction. It's not convention. So when you get that decimal, hit the change key, and that's going to write it as the fraction in simplest form. Okay? And then unit price. So for unit price, you always put the dollar on the top and the amount you're purchasing on the bottom. All right? So the dollar amount goes on the top, amount you're purchasing goes on the bottom. So 0.118, so about 11 cents, about between 11 and 12 cents per ounce. You're paying for that frozen juice. And then this one is going to be 69 cents for 6 ounces. That's 0.115. And so which is cheaper? It looks like the 6-ounce one is cheaper, right? This is a little bit more, over 11 cents than this one. So the 6-ounce is cheaper, product B. How we doing? We doing okay? All right. These were some of the problems that people missed on the test. You didn't show me any work, and so it's literally all or nothing. All right. So that caused me some concern because that was worth quite a few points on the test. And then the other problems that people missed, and I'm convinced you didn't watch the video. I'm convinced you didn't watch King Henry Died by Drinking Chocolate Milk because those should have been wonky easy. A, C, D, and E on the test is if you'd watched the video. It's just a decimal shift. Like in part G, complete this chart. I don't know how you could have missed those unless you didn't watch the video. So here's the story. What I'd like you to do is let's do the GPA, and then I want you to try to take the time to do this, and I will start Friday's video with this, okay? Start Friday video with this. So this will give you some time. If you have not watched that video, it was the last video that was posted in chapter, it was called Metric Conversions on Blackboard. Watch it and then see how you do on this. This one you're going to need the conversion chart. This was actually not on the test. That's a conversion chart one. And then I think that was it. So you'll need to know your conversion chart for that one. But honest to goodness, watch the video, try this before Friday, and then I will show you how to do this on Friday. But here, let me give you an example for this one. This was off of our website, off of CCC's website, and I just wanted to show you, again, this is off of our website, how they calculate points for the A minuses, B plus, B minuses. Okay, that's off of our website. So you know what? Let me work through the problem that was on the test, if I can find it. All right, so on the test, found it. On your test, a lot of people missed it. And I was like, ugh, that was a lot of points. So let me go over it. Let me find it, and then we will go over it. All right. So here's the question on the test. I want to hide it. I want to hide the answer. So this is your test. This is the key. I'm going to post it in a little bit. So the first thing you have to do is you need to make a column that's a credit time grade column. Okay? That's the first thing. So let me write these down, and then we'll try an example. We'll try this one together. So you're taking a nursing course. It's 3 credits, and you earned an A in it. You're taking a sociology course. It's 3 credits, and you didn't do so hot. You got an F. You have a French class. It's 4 credits. You earned a C. Chemistry, 3 credits. You earned a C, and your history was 5 credits, and you earned a D. So this was the question on the test. Okay. So the very first thing you need is a credit hour times grade column. Okay? I'm not going to write the word column. So in order to do the credit hour times the grade, you need to assign a numerical value for those letters. So an A is a 4.0, an F is a 0, a C is a 2.0, C is a 2.0, and a D is a 1. So you're going to take 3 times 4. That's going to give you 12. 3 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. And 5 times 1 is 5. And then you need to add these up. So that looks like it's going to add to 31. So the formula for GPA, which will be on your formula sheet, it was on the formula sheet for this test. It was right at the top. Do you see it? GPA. Sum of credit hour times grade, that's the column we just made, divided by the sum of the credit hours. So your GPA is the sum of the credit hours times the grade divided by the sum of the credit hours. So this was your credit hours. This is the number of hours you took. So that looks like that adds up to 18. So you're going to take 31 divided by 18, and you're going to round it to 2. Credit grades are always 2 decimals. So your GPA for the test was 1.72. All right? Definitely a question on your final too, guys. You got to know how to do that. All right, so your assignment is to get your My Math Lab done. Practice with this, and then we will start class with this on Friday, because you just don't want to miss these points on the final. These are easy questions. You don't want to miss any of these on the final. So we'll go over this, and then we have 2 short sections to do, 6-2 and 6-3 on Friday. And then we are really coming down the home stretch. We have 1 full week left of new material, and then the next 2 weeks we'll probably get most of it done by that next week, and then we'll start reviewing for the last test and the final. All right, so have a good one. We'll see you on Friday. Make sure you practice and get that My Math Lab done. We'll talk to you soon.